Good evening, I'm John Carter. Welcome to Poland Daily. The VAT Fraud Parliamentary Investigative Commission met to discuss the final report today. The Commission requests that the people allegedly responsible be brought before the State Tribunal. Those include former Prime Ministers Donald Tusk and Ewa Kopacz, as well as their finance ministers Jacek Rostowski and Mateusz Szczurek. According to various estimates, during their term in office, as much as 250 billion zloty was funnelled from state budget to private hands via VAT fraud.
The draft of the Parliamentary Investigative Commission concerning the VAT fraud includes a recommendation to bring the highest-ranking people of the former government to the State Tribunal, for example, Prime Ministers Donald Tusk and Ewa Kopacz, as well as their finance ministers Jacek Rostowski and Mateusz Szczurek. The reason is gross violation of the economic safety of the state, which in turn is a constitutional tort. It took 2.5 hours to present various violations and omissions that caused a huge VAT hole in the state budget in the years 2005 to 2015. The opposition does not agree with this assessment and called the draft of the report a bunch of crap and gave a recommendation to put the 4 people before the State Tribunal, the political theater.
The draft presented today is full of harsh truths, lies and allegations. It has nothing to do with reality as far as the VAT gap is concerned. I know that the chairman of our Parliamentary Investigative Commission concerning the VAT fraud put in a lot of hard work, and we also want to contribute in order to make sure it is the best it can be. It must include the details of the outsourcing fraud. We lost billions as far as the state budget is concerned. We lost all the money due to the lack of action from the state institutions, which were turning away on this huge white-collar crime. At this point, it is merely a recommendation. This recommendation is being submitted to the Parliament.
Members of the VAT Fraud Parliamentary Investigative Commission have until the 4th of September to file any corrections or comments to the draft. Final version of the report is going to be formed on the 6th of September.
The Polish budget for 2020 may be a groundbreaking one. That's according to Rzeczpospolita Daily. The newspaper stated that for the first time since the political reform of 1989, the budget for the upcoming year will be balanced without any additional borrowing. Tomorrow, the Council of Ministers is to discuss the targets and foundations of next year's budget. Today is the feast of Our Lady of Częstochowa. On this day, thanks are given for Mary's special role in the history of Poland, as well as being an expression of reverence for the image of Mary from Jasna Góra. During the ceremony, Jasna Góra vows of the nation were renewed, arranged by the Primate of the Millennium, Cardinal Stefan Wyszynski. These vows were taken for the first time on August 26, 1956. A homily to thousands of pilgrims was delivered today by the Primate of Poland, Wojciech Polak.
Spod oblicza naszej matki proszę.
From under the image of our mother, please let us stop these fratricidal feuds. Let us stop fueling disputes and divisions. Let us not provoke one another. Let us respond to hatred and contempt with love. Let us respond with faithfulness to Christ's gospel. I don't know a mother who would agree with hate and divisions in her family. Mary, our mother, does not enjoy the disagreement of her sons. Mary is, after all, an expression of everyday love and unification. These are the words of Cardinal Karol Wojtyła. No one is to be left out, no one is to be rejected, even if he rejects others himself. We should, and we have the right to condemn bad deeds and actions of others, but never the others. No one is allowed to lift a stone today to hurt another person. Christ died for everyone.
Powinniśmy i mamy prawo.
60,000 people attended the Metallica concert at the National Stadium in Warsaw last Wednesday. The legendary heavy metal band will be affectionately remembered not only by their fans, but also by the patients, their families and the staff of the Warsaw Hospice for Children Foundation.
Metallica donated 222,740 zloty to the Warsaw Hospice for Children Foundation. The famous musicians stressed that the money came from their fans buying tickets for their show. Elżbieta Tokarska, the foundation's associate, admitted that when she first saw the message from the manager of the Metallica Foundation, she couldn't believe it was true.
Pani Jessica, menadżer z Fundacji
Ms. Jessica, the manager of the Metallica Foundation, wrote an email to us saying that the band will be performing a concert on August 21st and that they want to hand us a check before the show. We met at the stadium before the concert and indeed, they gave us a great donation. Thanks to this amazing gift, which we received close to our 25th anniversary, we will be able to do so much more for the children in our care. We are very grateful.
The foundation will soon be celebrating its 25th anniversary. The deputy CEO, Wojciech Marciniak, gave us more insight on how the foundation takes care of children.
Fundacja Warszawskie Hospicjum dla Dzieci opiekuje się...
The foundation takes care of terminally ill children at their own homes. When they come back to their homes after their causal treatment has ended, we begin symptomatic treatment. We try to tackle all the unpleasant symptoms of untreatable diseases, like inability to breathe, pain, fear.
Objawowe, czyli niwelujemy takie przykre objawy towarzyszące nieuleczalnym chorobom.
Metallica also prepared something special for the Polish audience gathered at the stadium as they performed Czesław Niemen's famous anthem Sen o Warszawie or A Dream About Warsaw. Around 60,000 people joined Robert Trujillo in singing.
Hundreds of thousands of people took to the streets of Brazil yesterday to show their support for Brazil's president and the Minister of Justice, Sergio Moro. The protesters are upset with the president of the Supreme Federal Court, Dias Toffoli, who has recently decided to abstain from prosecuting a number of representatives of Brazil's liberal economic and political elite.
Protesters took to the streets in dozens of Brazil's larger cities. Many feared that influential members of Brazil's judiciary could be tempted to set the country's former socialist president, Luiz Lula da Silva, free, despite serving a long prison sentence for corruption. The dismayed protesters have with the president of the Supreme Federal Court, Dias Toffoli, could also be heard as protesters chanted "Fora Toffoli," meaning "Step down, Toffoli." Meanwhile, President Bolsonaro's dispute with French President Emmanuel Macron is escalating. Bolsonaro has taken to Twitter to denounce what he calls Macron's colonial mentality. We can't accept that President Macron fires off deranged and gratuitous attacks on the Amazon while he disguises his intentions behind the idea of an alliance of the G7 countries to save the Amazon, as if we were a colony or no man's land. Macron in turn responded to Bolsonaro taking a swing at Macron's wife. A Facebook user posted a picture comparing the wives of Bolsonaro and Macron, captioned, "Now we can see why Macron persecutes Bolsonaro." Unexpectedly, Bolsonaro himself answered in the comment section, "Don't humiliate the guy, LOL."
Extraordinairement irrespectueux à l'égard de mon épouse.
And it seems that yesterday Bolsonaro decided it would be a good idea to make comments that were extremely disrespectful about my wife. Sad, first of all, for him and for Brazilians. I think that Brazilians, who are great people, are a bit embarrassed by his behavior and expect for him as president to conduct himself properly. Yes, I have a lot of respect for the people of Brazil. I hope they will very soon have a president who is up to the job. Experts are now wondering whether the relationship between the two presidents is beyond repair.
Thank you very much for joining us here this evening at Poland Daily. I'm John Carter. Stay tuned after the break for Poland Daily weather, followed by the culture, the history and finally the travel.
Hello, and welcome to Poland Daily Weather. The forecast for tonight calls for partly cloudy skies and temperatures varying from 14 to 17 degrees. The warmest city tonight will be Lublin at 17 degrees, and the coldest will be Gdańsk, Olsztyn, Bydgoszcz, and Białystok. Tomorrow, the weather will bring thunderstorms to Szczecin, while the rest of the country can expect partly cloudy skies. The coldest spot in Poland will be Białystok at 26 degrees, and the warmest will be Szczecin at 33 degrees. The rest of the country can expect temperatures varying between 28 to 32 degrees centigrade. The next 3 days will also be very warm, with temperatures dropping by Friday. On Wednesday, we can expect partly cloudy skies, and on Thursday, thunderstorms will appear in the northwest. And on Friday, we can expect thunderstorms in the southwest. That is all for tonight. I invite you to stay with us and to join us later on for Poland Daily Business.
Poland Daily Business Edition, and we will talk tonight about the United States dollar and strong currency it is. Our guest is Jerzy Bielewicz, financial analyst and Gazeta Bankowa writer. Sir, welcome to the show.
Thank you for your invitation.
Donald Trump claims that United States dollar is too strong. He wants to decrease the interest rates. Does it make sense, according to you?
Yeah, that's he likes U.S. economy and to be competitive, and the dollar is too strong. Actually, it's 30% stronger than in 2011, so it's very, very strong, and it's getting stronger. But decrease in interest rate might have opposite results, because if the economy in the U.S. is very good compared to, let's say, Euro area, if it's even better because of lower interest rates, the dollar may get even stronger. So that's logic that governs the financial market at this particular point.
On the other hand, we have the American export of energy resources that jumped just a couple of years ago, but we also have the traditional American exports of food, of industrial products, and all those prices are going up with the strong dollar. So that's not good for the American workers and producers and businesses who are export-oriented.
Yeah, exactly. And in a long run, the US dollar has to depreciate. Its value has to be lower. But I think the master deal is the trade talks between China and the US. And I think during those trade talks, the currency, I think, is one of the main points. President Trump says that Chinese yuan is undervalued, and that's the reason for trade deficit between China.
Which is true, because this is not freely exchanged currency, but government is China keeps very strong hand on the exchange value of the yuan.
So the state of the world global economy is dependent on what says President Trump and President Xi, Chinese president, and on the state of negotiation between these two countries. The rest is derivative of those bilateral negotiations.
When we look at these discussions and the strong dollar from Polish perspective, we see, well, first of all, we are going to buy a huge amount of energy supplies from the United States, and 30% stronger dollar than in 2011, well, doesn't really help to maintain this high exchange. On the other hand, we want our exports to grow to the United States, because I think the potential is like 10 times higher than it is right now. How do you look at these issues?
We are in a very, very good position because we have our own currency, contrary to Eurozone countries, for example, which are under pressure of the United States. In fact, the fastest growing economies in European Union are the three countries that have their own currency, which is Hungary, Romania, and Poland. And Poland, according to OECD, is going to be fourth fastest growing large economy in global terms behind China and India. So here you are. We are in a very good position to expand, and it's a very, very good time for Poland and Polish economy.
There are sayings, and Piotr Maciążek, the energy expert writer, said that this winter we might expect very sharp energy war between Russia and generally Central Europe. The Western Europe is already building the stocks of the natural gas that is imported from Russia, and we may have problems with Russian supply of gas while we didn't build up the sufficient supply from Norway, this northern pipe that is still in the project stage, not built. In these cases, the American energy supplies will play a key issue in playing out this game that we await in December, January, and February 2020.
Russian hand is weaker and weaker in time because of our investments in liquefied gas, Baltic pipe, and other investments into natural gas pipelines in Poland that would lead to Ukraine, to Baltic states. Yeah, you are right. There is a conflict of interest between Central European countries and Russia, and we might expect some moves on the Russia side, but as I said, their hand is weaker and weaker every day that passes, and every day, for example, Baltic pipe is going to materialize.
Well, in terms of 2-3 years, or even 4, but this we may expect problems this winter because the Russians definitely wants to break our defense. Our energy minister or chief negotiator said that we will not prolong the contract for Russian gas after 2022.
I understand your point, but my perspective is that Russia is a less and less reliable supplier of crude oil and natural gas. And for example, crude oil, this event that caused the Russian crude to be not good.
There was substandard Russia's substandard oil pumped from Russia for months or two, and then we cut that supply, subsidizing it with other suppliers, and the Russians are blaming each other. We don't know who will eventually pay the damages.
Similar situation in natural gas a year ago, that the gas was not from Russia was not good enough, too much water vapor in it, and it was not a good quality. So I would say that they are not any more reliable supplier. So there is another side of this story. They have problems on the financial markets. They are partially cut from the banking, international banking, international credit. The investment in this area of is not enough, and they are no longer a good quality supplier of crude and natural gas.
That tells a lot about the direction that has been taken by Poland. Sir, thank you very much for this conversation.
Thank you very much.
Jerzy Bielewicz, financial analyst and Gazeta Bankowa writer, was our guest tonight. And that was it for Poland Daily Business.
Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily Business Weather. Tomorrow the forecast calls for partly cloudy skies in most regions of the country. The city of Szczecin can expect thunderstorms and will be the warmest spot on the map at a temperature of 33 degrees. In the rest of the country, the temperatures will vary between 26 to 32 degrees centigrade. In Europe, most of the continent can expect partly cloudy skies, with the exception of Warsaw, Minsk, Bucharest, Sofia, and Athens, where the weather will call for clear skies and temperatures of 31 to 35 degrees. The coldest city in Europe will be Dublin at 19 degrees, while the warmest will be Athens at 35 degrees centigrade. That is all for tonight. I thank you for joining us, and I wish you all a very pleasant evening.
Good day, everyone. My name is Maria Kądzielska, and this is Poland Daily Culture. We have in studio with us one of the most talented young Polish vocalists. Ladies and gentlemen, Marta Zalewska.
Happy to be here.
She sings, plays a guitar and violin, and recently published her debut album. But before we dig up all Marta's music secrets, let's listen to one of her songs.
Doskonali wszyscy z góry patrzą i krzyczą mi do ucha: musisz zostać kimś. Weź nie zmarnuj życia, ile to już lat. Jeśli nie masz życia, nic nie jesteś wart.
So together with Czwórka, you have published a CD just called Marta Zalewska. I have it here with me. I've listened to the tracks. There are 12 tracks and 5 of them are in English. How did you work on them? And are you proud of that? Is it your life achievement so far? Is it your little baby, music baby, and how was your approach to it?
Yes, of course. I can definitely say that it's my biggest achievement so far in music, because that's the first time I go out there and sing about my own feelings, and it's my language, my own one. So I think for every artist, the first debut album is something really, really important and a breakthrough. Well, I've been working on this album all my life, I can say, because I started playing the violin when I was 6 years old, or 5 or so, very early. And then I grabbed the bass guitar a few years later, and then I came to the guitar playing, and I've been always singing, and I've been always composing. So I think this final product, which is my album, that's it's the final product of all of my musical life and all of my experience and many, many influences and things I've been through.
Which of the tracks are your favorites, or which of the tracks you're the most proud of?
Well, it changes still, you know, because live concerts are very, very important to me. And I like these tracks that I mostly like to play live. And I think Hey You is the fifth one is such it's very nice to play it live and to change things during live performances. I like all of them, of course.
And what is your message? What was your message in this album? Is this something which you want to share to the world and say, I want this way, or do you rebel against anything and you want to show it in your music? Or what is also the main inspiration for you to share with the world?
I think and I hope that my message is very personal, and it comes from my own experience, but also it comes from my thoughts because of other people and everything I see, because I'm trying to observe really carefully everything around me, everything that's happening. and my thoughts about that are on the album. So I sing about freedom and freedom of thought. I sing about one of the singles is about not trying to be opposite to this latest, I would say, trend of trying to get more and more things, stuff, money, being
so
a celebrity.
You're a minimalist right now.
Not
a musician,
I don't think so.
Musician who is a minimalist. Okay, you know, but just against the materialism.
You know, there's a song that I call people just to stop and think, because sometimes we forget that we have already so much and we've achieved so much, and try to, you know, appreciate it. So yes, as I said, the album is really personal and comes from my life experience.
5 of the songs are in English. How else do you work with English language? Because it's different. I know it's easy, it's because English language is easy to use in songs because it's very melodic and it's easy to sing. But it's after all, you're not native speaker, so it required definitely more work. How you work with it, and also how did you compose, or do you write your own texts, or do you have someone or writing them for you?
No, I'm the only writer so far. And what's I think it's interesting that many of the songs on the album had, right from the start, had the English and the Polish version.
Oh, I see. So you have double.
Yes, and I decided to sing Grono Staje, for example, in Polish, but there is an English lyrics
wow,
version.
So you have two versions of every single song?
Yes, and it's even recorded, but I decided to sing in my home language after all. So, well, I like English language. I love it since I was a child, since I remember. I've been interested in it and watching movies and, you know, remembering lyrics of American artists' songs. So to me, it's natural to sing in English also. And why it's easier to sing in English. From my experience, it's easier to write because of the monosyllabic or the one-syllable words. It's easier, you know, in Polish language, you don't go that easy. No.
Also for singing, of course, we know that. But are you trying, or do you target your music also for foreign audience?
Yes, that's another reason. I think every artist would like to be heard all around the world. I don't believe there are some that wouldn't like that. And I think singing in English, it's the key to it, because you can be easily understood everywhere around the world.
Yeah, sure. Even the greatest Polish songs are limited for Polish audience usually because of the difficulty of the language. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host, Benjamin Lee, and welcome to another episode of Poland Daily History. Today, we are in the Praga district of Warsaw, in front of a statue of one of the great war heroes of the Polish Bolshevik War, Father Ignacy Skorupka. This statue is located right here, as he served this very church, and it was from here that his unit set out to confront the enemy. In early August of 1920, the Soviet Red Army was closing in on Warsaw. They were only a couple hundred kilometers away from linking arms with the Soviet Revolutionary Forces of Germany, Austria, and Hungary. Join us as we explore the Polish Bolshevik War, the Battle of Warsaw, and its impact on all of Europe. So as we know, the Polish Bolshevik War started only a few weeks after the end of the First World War. I was wondering if you can tell me, how did it all start and how did the initial phase of the war look like?
Polacy i ich siły zbrojne od początku przez bolszewików traktowane były jako wrogie.
Poles and their armed forces were treated by the Bolsheviks as hostile from the beginning. It was not because they would be ideologically hostile. Poles were simply not interested in the war between the White and Red Russians. Poles had their third way, a national road to freedom, and constituted an obstacle in spreading the revolution from Russia to the rest of Western Europe. Hence, the Polish-Bolshevik War has three beginnings. It starts quite unexpectedly, and actually, you can even say illogically. Poland does not yet exist when the Bolshevik commander-in-chief, Commissioner Owsienko, declared war on the Polish Corps in Belarus, led by Dowbor-Muśnicki. On the 22nd of January 1918, the same corps representing future Poland was already at war with the Soviet troops. There were many clashes, murders, and even burying some of the Poles taken prisoner alive, which testified to the enormous hatred of the Bolsheviks for everything that was Polish. The second moment comes when Soviet Russia breaks the Brest-Litovsk Treaty concluded with Germany. One of the conditions of the truce in Compiègne, ending the First World War, was the annulment of all previous treaties. Bolshevik Russia took advantage of this, and on November 13, 1918, 2 days later, it set off from the demarcation lead set by the Brest-Litovsk Treaty, somewhere on the Dnieper, and started moving west. They clearly signaled their intention to the Vistula in Poland and to move on to the Rhine River in Germany. The Poles knew this well. The resistance to that march to the west was brought by the borderland self-defense units organized from Poles and Belarusians who did not want to be Bolsheviks. Minsk was a very special city. Today it is Belarusian, but then it was considered to be Lithuanian, in which the first battle with the regular Soviet army was fought on December 27th. Of course, the self-defense units were not able to defend themselves for long. They fought for as long as there was enough ammunition, and after, they had to retreat. The next moment happened in Vilnius, where large quantities of arms were smuggled in, and when the Poles, in their so-called New Year's uprising, chased the Germans away on December 31st, 1918, for the new year, January 1st, 1919, Vilnius was free and Polish. But suddenly it turned out that a communist crown nest existed and fought the Poles for 12 hours at Wronia Street or Crow Street. Eventually, these Bolsheviks surrendered. Most of them were local Jews, but there were also Poles and several Russians who were instructors of that group. Everyone was taken prisoner, some committed suicide, but no one was murdered. After 4 to 5 days, the Poles had to leave Vilnius and give it over to the Bolsheviks, because we had too little strength. The establishment of a Polish state resulted in an agreement with Germany in January 1919. Germany finally withdrew. The Germans had earlier constituted a kind of buffer between the Soviet and Polish forces. Then the Polish army started moving east. The first clash with the Soviet army took place in a town which by now is historically well known, Byaroza, in which a Polish train entered the station and disarmed the Bolsheviks there. Because of this small fact of overtaking the Soviet aggression, many believe that it was the Poles who invaded the Russians. Meanwhile, we were attacked, and there is no doubt that the Soviet bulldozer was on its way west not only to destroy Poland, but to conquer Europe. This was the main goal, and Poland was only an obstacle in their way. From this moment, since the Bolshevik forces were initially losing the civil war, they began to withdraw eastwards. Polish troops reached far east to the border river Berezina. They occupied Babruisk and the city Borisov. In Ukraine, we reached as far as Kamieniec-Podolski, the Dniester River, and so the Polish Bolshevik front was put on hold until fights between the forces of Anton Denikin, an army of white, pro-Tsarist Russians, and Lenin's army, the Bolsheviks, came to a close.
Procarskich Rosjan, a armią Lenina, czyli bolszewików.
So once the Polish army started moving east, they allied with the Ukrainians, and I was wondering if you can tell me how that union looked like.
Trzeba pamiętać, że w 19 roku Polska jest w stanie wojny.
It must be remembered that in 1919, Poland was at war with both Ukraines, with Galician Ukraine, the one that came into being from the Austrian partition, and with Dnieper Ukraine, which was liberated from the Russian partition. However, peace is concluded quite quickly, on September 1st, 1919, and then talks are underway, during which Poles make Ukrainians aware that they had a common goal. At a time when both both white and red Russia do not want to hear about independent Ukraine at all, Józef Piłsudski becomes the natural ally of the ataman, or leader of Dnieper Ukraine. Indeed, these two national leaders, Piłsudski and Petliura, were able to convince Poles and Ukrainians to cooperate. The result of this action was a preemptive offensive. The Poles had a great understanding that the attack on their country was coming and decided to overtake it by liberating Ukraine. Ukraine was later to create its own military forces and thus become our ally and protect Poland from the southeast. The first part was successful. Kiev was seized properly without a shot. Poles defeated all possible armies. However, those armies could not be completely eradicated. They withdrew efficiently behind the Dnieper River and dug themselves in there. Kiev was liberated, and in the main parade on the main street of Kiev, the Kreszchatyk, the army of Ukraine marched first, and Poles, as the supporting army, paraded second. Although we know that it was the opposite. Poles handed over a lot of weapons to the Ukrainians, although of course we ourselves received them from France. This situation lasted until June, when the Bolsheviks managed to bring the giant, tens of thousands man strong horse army of Budyonny from the steppes of Asia, from the Caucasus. This army burst into the gaps between the Polish armies, reaching very deep, about several dozen to 100 kilometers to the hinterland of the Polish army. At the time, the only wise solution was to withdraw immediately. The Poles left Kiev in June, they were there for a month, and the Ukrainians also decided to leave. They started retreating towards Poland. At this point, on July 4th, 1920, several hundred Soviet trains, it's difficult to say the exact number today, but it was about 500, took full speed from 4 directions and broke the front in the northeast, near Polotsk. A gigantic army broke in, eliminating the Poles' resistance, and in order for Polish armies not to be destroyed, they had to withdraw as quickly as possible. Hence, the Polish forces withdrew faster in the north of the Eastern Front than in the south. We managed to stop on the Dniester River line. In the south, they went back to Niemen, even further away. Finally, the key Brest fortress fell, seized by the Bolsheviks. The Poles simply did not manage to man it. At that time, the Poles had to stop the Russians and stop them on the Vistula River in the vicinity of Warsaw. This was the third maneuver that Piłsudski made, the third time he succeeded. The army was detained on the banks of the Vistula River, north and south of Warsaw. The Bolsheviks didn't manage to reach as far as the place where we sit today. After the victorious Battle of Radzymin on August 15th, which is a religious and national holiday in Poland, on August 16th, an offensive began from the south, which cut off an army of almost 200,000 units from Mother Russia. This army mostly fell into Polish hands and was taken prisoner. Parts of it broke through East Prussia to Belarus and took part in the next battle, in which it was completely defeated, at the Battle of Niemen.
I tam brała udział w drugiej kolejnej bitwie, w której już została kompletnie rozgromiona, bitwie niemeńskiej.
The Battle of Warsaw was the decisive point of the Polish-Bolshevik War. It saved Europe from an imminent communist invasion and gave Poland a vital 20 years as an independent state before the outbreak of the Second World War. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee, and I'll see you next time on Poland Daily History.
Welcome to Poland Daily Travel and our second installment of A Touch of Paradise near Warsaw. That's right, the Campinos National Park. If you like paradise near the big city, this is your place. Our ranger guide, Katarzyna Mikrut, makes us feel at home in the park. We'll be finding out some more about the wildlife. We'll take a trip to the cemetery at Palmyra. And we'll take a look at the different kind of ecosystems. Nearly 40,000 hectares of forest. It's a big park, and it's a lot of fun. So So come with me and Katarzyna to Campinos National Forest.
God dang it. What the heck's going on here?
Wow, what happened?
What do you mean, what happened?
Mosquitoes bite you.
Yes. I mean, they've been biting me ever since we left the museum. What's going on here, and what can I do to stop this torture? It's not really torture. I'm exaggerating.
It might be.
Because we're making film here, so I'm exaggerating my emotions.
You know, there's 30 species, scientifically confirmed 30 species of mosquitoes.
Yeah, but
so
that's
be
if
careful.
you believe in
you
science.
Need to.
Yeah.
They are.
that voodoo. You expect me to believe in science? That's ridiculous.
It's
just because you're a scientist.
Mosquitoes are.
Are you a Scientologist?
No, I'm not.
Just a scientist. Okay.
I am just a scientist, former scientist.
A former scientist. Why did you retire?
I prefer to work with nature, for the nature, not the science.
Not in a laboratory.
Yes.
Yeah, you prefer to be outside. I agree with you. I love being outside, especially today, because it's beautiful. It's beautiful in Campinos. Yeah, it's beautiful. Welcome to Poland Daily Travel. Yes, in the intervening time, I've been attacked by hordes of mosquitoes, all 30 different varieties, all speaking different languages, which is bad enough. Different kind of buzzing. They all have their own. You ever notice that?
They are smaller, bigger. They are active in different parts of the day.
Mm-hmm.
So it means that they are active all the time.
Mm-hmm. So there's some kind of mosquitoes active all the time. They have to be active because they don't live a long time, do they, mosquitoes? They don't live forever.
No, nobody lives forever.
What? What are you trying to do? Break my heart? Why are you telling me this now?
This is life.
I don't like science anymore. I thought I was going to live forever. Now everything's ruined. Okay.
You will live forever because all your little parts will live in other trees or in other animals.
Yeah. Okay. I left my heart in San Francisco anyway. That we were talking about is the different kinds of, flora and habitats or territory
or ecosystems.
Ecosystems.
Yeah, but habitats it's really good
is that
expression.
Okay?
Yes, and
finally I got something.
We are in Campinos National Park. What we have here: dunes and marshes.
Okay, let's go see. We can see a marsh nearby.
We may see the part of the dune here.
This is a dune, right?
Yes.
Right here. Yeah. Okay.
So all hills, in fact, in reality, those are the dunes. And different.
Which were all at the bottom of the river once.
Yes, yes. Some
because
years,
this was all
some
the
years
Vistula
ago.
River 20,000 years ago.
Yes, some years ago.
It's nice.
And on the dunes, most of the dunes are covered by the Scotch pine.
Okay.
But when we go to the more wet parts.
Because now we're going in, we go right from the dunes, they come right to the edge of the marsh part, right?
Yes, so this is
which is the lower part.
This is peat bog.
Pete Bog. I think I went to school with him. Just kidding, just kidding. So.
And here there are different species.
Yeah.
In wet, humid part of the parks.
Yeah.
Of the park, there are more alder, birch, trees like that.
More hardwoods. Yeah. Why is the Scotch pine so prevalent in the forest here? Because you can see they're all around us, and they're quite tall ones too. Why do you think that they're so prevalent, or so present? So present. Many of them. Oh, this is a good shot. Here we can really see it here.
Yeah, we may see, but this peat bog is overgrown, and we say that. Plants are coming, so the vegetation, the succession is going on. So for the peat bog is not good, because when vegetation is growing, it means that it's taking all water. And bogs, they are keeping water inside. It's good for the nature. When dry period comes, it means that all humidity is hidden there. When the second succession is going on, it means that the peat bog will get dry. But
like now.
Like now, for example. But
because
in
we're
the
here
period,
in the sort of the middle of summer and it's dry. Yeah, okay.
it's dry.
Yeah.
And there are some years which are more dry. There are some years which are wet. So again, when wet period starts, you can see that all birches are dead, and this is completely natural because when
we see a lot of
water level,
sawed-off trees, basically.
Yes.
What do they do? Break in half and fall down? Or
yes.
Is that from the wind, or is it just
for the wind?
the wind blows them down
yes, from the
because
wind.
they become dry?
When there is a dry period, the vegetation can go. The succession can go, and when dry period ends and the trees are already quite big, and the wet period starts, it means that all those trees are not used to water and they die.
Okay, so they just get brittle. They dry up. The wood becomes.
They cannot breathe. They cannot.
And the wind comes and it knocks them down. So the difference is, here we have strong, tall trees, and over here all the broken trees. So there's, in such a short space, there's a big difference.
This is also a specific feature of the park, because we are on the edge of two ecosystems, very dry and very wet, and we may see that from one path.
Should we keep going a little bit? Okay. And another thing that I'm thinking about is I have a, do you know what a phobia is? Do you have any phobias? Do you have any? What
No,
are you scared of?
I don't have any phobias.
You don't have any, because you're a scientist. You never, scientists.
Or naturalist.
You're a naturalist, and naturalists only have phobia against unnatural things, right? If you have any phobia, I suppose. But you look at things very practically. But I have a phobia about ticks, which you call in Polish the klesz, right?
Kleszcz.
The klesz. I hate these things. And they're very dangerous, aren't they?
Yes, because
they
can be, and if you are going into the forest, not only to Campinos forest, but all forests, you have to be careful. After coming back to home...
Do we have to be careful when we go back now?
Yes.
You think we'll have some on us?
You never know.
We don't know, do we?
You never know. So it's better to check your legs, whole body when you are...
I'm getting very nervous now. Very, very nervous. Hey guys, keep the cameras on me. If you see any of these klesz, immediately shout something, okay? Klesz alert or whatever it is, okay? Have you had it? Do you get these on you sometimes?
Yes, and it happens at least once a year. Although I'm...
Is digging into you and sucking your blood?
When I'm talking once a year, it means that one which is in my skin.
In your skin. Yeah. No matter how well you look, and it's sometimes.
But I'm lucky, and until that moment, I didn't get any disease.
You didn't get any disease.
No.
Yeah. Well, this is a problem of being a naturalist. See, if you're an unnaturalist like me, and you live in the city.
But this is a part of life, so it's normal.
It's okay. No, I'm just kidding.
So it's.
Okay. All right. Well, listen. This is now. This is a great view. Okay. Now we really get to see. We really get to see the bog right here, yeah. And you can see all the trees that have fallen in there. This must make very rich soil, yes?
It is. In fact, bogs, peat, were digged out and used for heating.
Yeah. In the old days.
In the old days, yes.
That's right. Yeah, when we're talking about old days, aren't we? It's a long time ago. It's not yesterday.
No.
It's not 100 years ago. It's a long time ago. Yeah. Okay, like cavemen, right?
No. Even 100 years ago, people were digging out.
Yeah. In Ireland, that was they have a lot of peat bogs, don't they? Yeah. I remember reading in the Irish books. The Netherlands, they have? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. They have the dikes to keep Is it to keep the water in or out? I'm not sure.
Dikes are for both reasons. For both reasons is to take out water and also to put the water into the ecosystem.
Okay.
So it should work. So. It should work both ways.
If you say so, you're the expert. Okay, I think this has been really interesting. So and beautiful. It's a quiet day. It's perfect temperature. And here we are.
Not too hot, not too
cold.
Not too cold, with wind. During the evening, you may hear some animals or some insects, some birds. So really, it's like a concert.
Perfect time of the year.
Concert of nature.
Yeah. We'll have to come here and do the same thing when there's snow, if there is snow, because you were telling me off camera that there may never be any more snow. I mean, why are you saying this?
I hope it will be.
You're saying
because since the time I bought cross-country ski, there's no snow.
Right? You brought cross-country skis and you're saying, okay, it's like when you go to the bank, there's always a long line, and then you get to the front and there's no one behind you.
Yeah.
I love that, yeah. Okay, anyway, Poland Daily Travel. Thank you for being with us. It is Ranger Kasia, or Katarzyna, as her parents call her when they're angry with her. Watch us on Poland Daily Travel, your favorite travel show of all time. And boy, it's beautiful here. Don't you wish you were with us? Stay tuned for more in our next episode. Put it there, pal.